Partial and import are powerful features of Sass. Partial avoids to transfile a Sass file into a CSS file, and import is a directive statement that allows you to include the content of one file in another. Let's see some examples on how both of these work. I have already defined a new site for this example. What we will do next is to create a new folder that will contain our Sass file. On our Files panel, right-click on the root folder and then select New Folder. And then let's name this CSS. Now, basically, in our previous videos, what you have seen every time we create a new Sass file, the Dreamweaver automatically transpiled the Sass file to create a new CSS file. But with partial, it will not transpile the Sass into a new CSS file. So let's create a partial Sass file. And we can do that by right-clicking on the CSS folder, select New File, and then we have to prefix our file with an underscore, and then we will give it a name font.scss. After creating the partial, it will not transpile and create a new CSS file because the Dreamweaver knows that this is a partial Sass. So let's add another partial Sass, and we will name this color, and another one, we will name this default. Okay, so after having three partial Sass file, we will add Sass codes inside of each partial Sass file. So let's open our font, and then let's add here a variable head font, and then we will give it a name Century Gothic, and then another variable subhead font. Let's give it a name Helvetica, and then another variable for paragraph, and then the name will be Sego UI. Okay, so that's all for this file, and let's go to our color, and then we will define some variables also. For heading, we'll write here 4242. So this is a dark gray color. Then for subheading, we will make this green. And then for paragraph, it will be a light gray. Then let's save the changes. And then last one for the default. So let's write here body. Then let's state here that the font will have a normal style with 1.2 em, a font family of Tahoma. And then the padding will be set to 0 pixel as well as the margin. So meaning we are removing the space inside of the body as well as the space outside the body. So let's save the changes. And then let's now create a new Sass file. But this time it will not be a partial Sass. It will be transpilable Sass. Right click, new file. Let's write here main.scss. Okay, so it created a new CSS file with the name main.css. Inside of our Sass file, main.scss, let's add import statement here. So the import directive includes the content of the file, let's say color. So all the codes inside of the color will be transferred into this main.scss. We'll also do that for the font. So every time you use the import directive, you don't need to include the underscore for partial and even the extension name, because Sass understood that you are referring to a partial and to a file with an extension .scss. Then let's start with the body. But before we proceed, let's review the structure of our index.html. So the body contains three elements. The first one is the heading 2, followed by h3, and lastly is the paragraph. We will target these three elements inside of our main.scss. So let's go back to our main.scss, and then let's state here that the h2 will have a font family of whatever we declare for our head font, and a color, whatever value we have for our head color variable. We'll do the same thing for our h3. So let's just copy and paste this and rename h2 to h3. And let's add subhead and subhead. So these are the variables from our color partial and font partial file. And then for the last line, let's add a paragraph, and then let's define here the font family using our par font variable with a color of par color. So whatever the value we have assigned to our par color variable, that will be the color assigned to our color property. Let's save the changes and let's see what happened to our main.css. Let's open the main.css. So there you go. So it added those values from our variable and it worked well. Now let's go back to our index.html and let's add the external CSS style which has a name main.css. So let's write here link href. Let's browse to the CSS folder and let's look into the file main.css. Then let's specify the rel followed by style sheet. There you go. Save the changes and then let's preview this in our browser. There you have it. We have now this partial Sass applied to our index page. So let's go over again to the Sass file that we have created. On our Dreamweaver, let's open our main.scss. So we have an import statement telling the Sass that we have to copy all the content of our color partial file into our main.scss. And same with the font partial file. Then after that, we use those variables from the font partial file and color partial file for the definition of our CSS rules. And then after saving this, it created these CSS rules. Then after that, we wrote the link tag here to create a reference to our external style sheet. So that's all, and see you in the next videos.